Welcome back. I think we're going over to California now to talk to Erol Morkoc. He is from the Republican Overseas Organisation here in London, but he's over on the West Coast at the moment. I know it very well. Used to live there. Now, let's talk to Erol. Hello, Erol.
Hey there. How are you doing?
Good, good. Before we start this conversation, let's remind ourselves of what it's all about. It is Kamala Harris, frankly, sounding increasingly desperate as she compares Donald Trump to Adolf. By the way, before we do you say Adolf Hitler or Adolf Hitler?
I suppose Adolf, but...
Good. No, stick with that. Stick with that. That's because you live in London.
I know how you should say it.
That's because you live in London. That's because you live in London. Anyway, let's have a listen to Kamala.
So yesterday we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired four-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him.
So, Erol, what do you think she's going to stand at that lectern next and say? I've had it confirmed that Donald Trump, he kills babies for a hobby. I mean, she is getting desperate with that claptrap, isn't she?
It's in this case, it's beyond the pale. Like, at some point, where does it stop? The idea, I mean, just let's break it down. Let's have a little bit of fun. Imagine Donald Trump became president, then for 4 years decided to be not a fascist, all the while waiting to lose the election, to go through 4 years of this unknown situation, to nearly get murdered, only to become president again, to then be Hitler. And only a Democrat voter could be so gullible, I don't want to say stupid, but gullible, to actually believe that. This guy who said it, he was fired. Now, he's a respected general, a general that didn't win any wars, but respected nonetheless. But everybody else in the room said he didn't say that. And it's been debunked. And I've spent the last 48 hours of my life going on international media, having people present that as an actual counterpoint to what I'm saying. And at some point, like, we've crossed the Rubicon as far as decency. This is why there have been 2 attempts on President Trump's life. And now she's out there straight up calling him Hitler and saying he wants Nazi generals, implying, by the way, that there are generals in the U.S. military waiting in the wings, waiting for a true fascist to come into power so they can orchestrate, the republic into empire. So insulting a bunch of patriotic generals apparently is totally fine, just implying that there's Nazis throughout the military waiting for their leader to return the second time around. But it speaks to the further division. This is all they have left to run on. This is how children win arguments online. Well, you're Hitler. And that's it. And it doesn't look good. This isn't a woman in a commanding position. This is somebody reeling, and she's backed into a corner, claws out and taking desperate last swipes. You know, it reminds me of that scene in Saving Private Ryan where he's shooting at the tank,
Yeah,
except imagine.
That's right. Exactly.
What do you have left? I mean, and granted, in that movie, it worked out, but imagine it didn't.
Yeah, but exactly right. I mean, this is high school playground name calling. That's all it is. It's ridiculous. And, you talk about, you say only a Democrat would be stupid enough to believe that or to swallow that. But to be fair, I think her problem is, a lot of Democrat voters, I know we hate to admit it, but they're intelligent people. They'll listen to that crap and they'll just go, this is ridiculous. I mean, this nonsense, I think, will put off. Obviously, it will alienate Republican voters and Trump supporters, but I think it will alienate a lot of Democrat voters who're just going to say, this is beyond the pale, it's ridiculous, it's ludicrous.
And to do you one farther, the people who are actually up for grabs in this election are like moderate people, and in some respects, libertarian people, people who do go on both sides. Libertarians maybe theoretically trend conservative based on fiscal logic, but they're open-minded people. The idea that now the Democrat Party has taken Dick Cheney as their mantra and then turned around and said Donald Trump is with fascists and somehow thinks that the libertarian American voter who's anti-war and going through a very difficult time in their decision-making process is going to go for that kind of rhetoric. Even the most ardent anti-Trump person, if the lights go off and they are asked a real question, is he a fascist? Is he a Nazi? The answer is no. They know it in their heart of hearts. So now they're going to lose the moderates who they've already have lost based on their other policies, their anti-cryptocurrency policies, their degrowth policies, their weird trans policies. What's left for a moderate voter to cling on to besides that guy's Hitler and we've got Dick Cheney on our side?
And
that's
you're,
not gonna...
yeah, and you all know, Errol, as a London resident, you know, we have Sky News over here, you know, rather a left-wing news outlet. And their American guy went to, it was all staged up. So he stood outside the offices of the New York Times and Bob Woodward stepped out. And he goes, oh, Sky News. And Bob Woodward, oh, yes, hello, hi. You know, it's all staged, obviously. Yeah. And what the line of questioning was, Donald Trump, he's a fascist, isn't he? And Bob Woodward said, yeah, actually, we've looked into this, and by all historical definitions, Donald Trump is actually a fascist. This seems to be the Democrats' new line, to label Donald Trump a fascist, and they think somehow or other that will win them the election. I think it will lose them the election. They've got to get a better line of attack than this. They might as well just say, right, OK, everybody, don't vote Donald Trump because he's nasty. You know, it's ridiculous. Haven't they got anything? Haven't they got anything else in their weaponry?
No, they have nothing. And just ironically, because you mentioned Bob Woodward, Donald Trump said to Bob Woodward, who's a hostile writer, basically, yeah, come on into the White House. You can follow me around, write whatever you want, and publish it. And at the end of that, he goes, man, that fascist said I could do whatever I wanted. Like, it was the opposite of fascism. Donald Trump came out and said, hey, you know, have families at home. Don't trust your government agencies that are doing things. Let's have low taxes, free media, state control should be reduced. That's not fascism. Study Mussolini. It's the opposite of fascism, if anything. So they have nothing left in their playbook because they've achieved nothing in 4 years. They can't point to their 4 years of legacy. Actually, all they can point to is the stock market, inflated stock market, is killing it for 10% of Americans. 9 out of 10 Americans don't own a relevant amount of stock. Their real market is in the grocery store or at the price pump, and that's where they get their uplift. That's where they get their benefit. Yeah. So they've taken a huge reduction. The Democrats' only thing they can run on is very rich people and trust fund kids got richer. But the regular people didn't, and that's not a very good pitch. So I suppose if that's all you have, calling somebody Hitler is what you learned in middle school, and you might as well go with it because it's the same level of intellect in the Kamala Harris campaign. I mean, it looks like a high school campaign, honestly.
Well,
it's embarrassing.
You know, the Spectator over here, Freddie Gray, writes prodigiously and very well about America. He said that Donald Trump is hitting a kind of optimistic joy ride just at the right time. I thought the McDonald's stunt was brilliant. You know, would you like lies with that? Because Kamala Harris said that she worked in McDonald's. Turns out she didn't. And it was real good, feel-good stuff. Look at it. It's great. It's great. Tomorrow, I think he's on the Joe Rogan podcast. And I'm told, you tell me, Errol, but I'm told that as a result of this very good campaigning by Donald Trump, hitting his stride at the right time in the final furlong, if you like, and this very bad campaigning by Kamala, frankly, calling him Hitler, that he's now moving ahead in the polls in the swing states?
Yeah, we are looking at what can only be described as a potential narrow landslide. And for your viewers, what I mean by that is we are marginally ahead before, like in polling and in early voting, which we've never been in the early voting, especially in all the swing states. Now, everything's going to be tight. It is going to come down to the wire. Last election was decided by 30 to 50,000 people across 3 to 4 states. But in the metrics we're looking at, across the board, Trump could take electoral college landslide. And even now, win a popular vote. I mean, I'm in California right now. There is, for the first time ever, Trump signs up in a very left-wing town that I live in. Because what do people have to lose? The fear is gone. After seeing Donald Trump get shot in the head nearly, fight, all of a sudden that shy Republican voter who didn't want to put that sign out, he put the sign out and said, you know what? That's what I believe in.
Which town are you in? Which one?
I'm sorry?
Which town are you in?
I'm in Davis, California, one of the UC Davis liberalist places you could be, and I've got Trump signs in my.
Keep your head down. Keep your head down.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that though. You know, I used to live in LA, and you know, I know all about California. Although I was there in the early days of the '90s. Remember when Pete Wilson was governor, who wanted to castrate rapists? You know, the flavour of Californian politics has changed over the years. It's now, you know, full out Democrat. But a friend of mine recently landed, literally in the last weekend. He landed at LAX at Los Angeles airports, and as you get there, there's these two huge cabinets full of, you know, electoral paraphernalia that you can buy. You know, it's like Donald Trump mugs and T-shirts and Kamala Harris. So there's literally a split down the middle of the cabinet. And the Kamala side, absolutely packed with everything. The Donald Trump side, empty. People have bought it all. You know, I think something's happening in America.
Yeah, and we're feeling it. Like I've been talking to my friends. There's just a subtle upturn for Trump. Like some media organizations finally are questioning Kamala Harris to her face. That never used to happen. Little indicators, like you mentioned. There's a cookie indicator where these two cookie shops sell a Trump cookie and a Harris cookie, and that's decided the election, quote unquote, in some of these superstitious things. You're selling way more Trump cookies. You're seeing an undercurrent. You're seeing Hispanic voters. You're seeing African American voters. You're seeing people who traditionally didn't get involved in politics, and for the first time ever, you actually have a male vote. It's always been the female vote, and nobody ever asked, what about the male vote? Well, that's because the male vote was pretty split. It was a pretty divided 52-48. But especially with young men since 2016, it's gone from 51% support of the Democrat Party to 39%. And so all of a sudden, there's a male vote. For the first time in my life, I've never been part of a group that had a vote in a block. We weren't usually a voting block.
And here's another factor, Errol. The last election, because of COVID, it was pretty much all postal votes. Women vote by post. A lot of women are very happy with the postal vote system. Guys, males, don't like it very much. They prefer to go down to the polling station. So this time, the guys are going to walk down the polling station, and that will be a factor as well. I agree with you, Errol. I think it's looking very good for Trump. But what a fascinating couple of weeks we got ahead. And I'm sure we'll talk to you again. And enjoy Davis, and thank you so much for your time. That was the great Erol Morkoc. He's from the Republican Overseas Organisation here in London, but over in California at the moment. What do you reckon, Trump or Harris? It's